I gave my stepmom a special gift at her baby shower, saying I couldn't wait to meet my baby brother. She smirked and said, "You're not part of this family, you never were." Everyone laughed, until I told them what was hidden in the gift. Now she's calling nonstop, but I'm not picking up. "I'm so happy for you," I said, handing Laura the box. "Can't wait to meet my little brother." The room fell quiet. Every eye in that pastel-decorated living room turned to me, stepdaughter, 17, apparently still the family mascot when it's convenient. Laura, my stepmother, looked up from her mimosa and gave me that smug, stretched smile she always used when she was about to say something nasty dressed as polite. She didn't even take the gift from my hands. Instead, she tilted her head slightly. "That's sweet," she said. "But I don't know why you're acting like this matters to you." I blinked. "What?" She took another sip, eyes never leaving mine. "You're not part of this family. You never were." There it was. Raw, unfiltered. Delivered with the same voice she used when talking to her Pilates friends about gluten. A beat of silence. Then, laughter. From her friends. From Aunt Carrie. Even my cousin Alana chuckled into her wine like Laura had made some kind of sassy joke. But it wasn't a joke. My father didn't laugh. He didn't even look at me. He just sat there, eyes fixed on a plate of tiny sandwiches like he was wishing he could disappear. "Oh, come on, sweetheart," Laura added, brushing invisible lint off her designer maternity dress. "Let's not be dramatic. This is our celebration. Not yours." My cheeks burned. But I didn't move. I'd rehearsed this moment in my head 100 times. Not this exact moment, because I hadn't expected her to humiliate me in front of 20 people. But I had been prepared for her to push. What she didn't know was, I'd come prepared to push back harder. "I made something for the baby," I said, still holding the box. "Took me 3 weeks." Laura raised an eyebrow. "I'm sure it's thoughtful." She turned away. "Just leave it on the gift table. Someone will open it later." "Someone," I repeated. She didn't even flinch. I walked over to the table, placed the box right in the middle between the diaper cake and a framed sonogram, then turned back toward her. "It has a surprise inside." She glanced at me over her shoulder. "Oh, what is it?" "A sad poem about how hard it is to be a stepdaughter." More giggles from her friends. I smiled. "No," I said. "Just the truth." The temperature in the room dropped. "What truth?" she asked, laughing, but her voice shook ever so slightly. "Go on," I said. "Open it." Laura narrowed her eyes, but the smug was fading. She walked over slowly, peeled off the ribbon, and lifted the lid. At first, she didn't react. She pulled out the envelope, opened it, and then everything stopped. Her expression dropped, like someone had yanked the mask off her face in front of everyone. Her hands trembled. "What is this?" she whispered. My father stood up suddenly. "Laura? What's wrong?" Laura swallowed. These aren't real. This isn't." Hospital records. Lab results. Dates. Timeline of appointments. I met her eyes. "And a paternity test. See the name?" My voice was flat even. Dead calm. Not my dad's name. Dead silence. No one moved. Not even the baby kicked, I swear. "Laura," my dad asked again, voice sharper. She didn't answer. I stepped toward the door. "I may not be part of this family," I said, "but I'm absolutely sure not the one lying to it." And then I walked out. Calm. Steady. Like I hadn't just blown up a woman's entire fake perfect life. You probably think that was dramatic. That I came to my stepmom's baby shower with some kind of evil plan to ruin the party. Wrong. I came with the truth. And if the truth happens to ruin her party, maybe it wasn't much of a family to begin with. Let me rewind a bit. My mom died when I was 9. Car accident. One of those wrong place, wrong time stories you read in the paper. It wrecked my dad. I mean, he acted wrecked. For about 6 months. Then he met Laura. Laura was everything my mom wasn't. Where my mom was warm and chaotic and kind, Laura was cold, composed, and fake nice. My mom wore sweats to grocery stores. Laura wore lipstick to vacuum. Within a year, they were married. I was 10. And just like that, I became the extra. The shadow. The walking, talking reminder that my dad had a life before Laura, and that Laura wasn't the first. She hated that. I tried to play nice at first. I really did. I called her Laura, not Mom, because she told me it made her uncomfortable. She made that clear on day one. She also made it clear I wasn't allowed to put my school drawings on the fridge, or keep toys in the living room, or interrupt her yoga time. By the time I was 12, I'd stopped asking for anything. And my dad? He just drifted more and more into her. If she sighed, he asked what was wrong. If I spoke, he asked if I could lower my voice. He used to make pancakes with smiley faces. By the time I was 13, I was eating dry cereal alone while they posted matching selfies at brunch. But I survived. I got good grades. I worked part-time jobs. I kept my head down. And Laura? She got everything. Vacations. Spa days. New SUV every 2 years. My dad even remodeled the kitchen because the countertops didn't inspire her. I was invisible in my own home. Until, of course, Laura got pregnant. That changed everything. Suddenly there were balloons in the hallway, baby name lists on the fridge, ultrasound photos taped to the mirror in the entryway. And me? Oh, can you keep it down? She's napping. Don't leave your homework on the kitchen table. It's baby shower planning space now. Why don't you go stay with a friend this weekend? We're doing the gender reveal. Like I was some stray they were trying to politely evict. It was during one of those nights, eating dinner alone in my room, again, that I noticed something weird. Laura's prenatal appointment schedule, printed out and left on the kitchen counter. I glanced at it without thinking. Except, the dates didn't line up. I'm good at math. Obscenely good. And I knew, down to the week, when they'd announced the pregnancy. Only the record said she was nearly 3 weeks further along than she should have been. Weird, right? I didn't say anything at first. I figured maybe I was wrong. Maybe she messed up the dates. But something didn't sit right. So I started watching. She was paranoid about her phone, always turning the screen face down, never letting my dad near it. One night, she left it charging in the kitchen. I know. I shouldn't have looked. But I did. And I found messages. Not many, she'd deleted most. But I found one from a number labeled Layla's husband that said, "We need to talk about the baby. You promised." That was all I needed. I started digging. I found receipts, clinic records, appointment confirmations. I even found a folder in the cloud my dad paid for where Laura had scanned her labs. Some were under a different name. Some were dated before she even pretended to know she was pregnant. She was hiding everything. That's when I decided I wasn't going to be quiet anymore. Because I was tired. Tired of being erased. Tired of my father choosing her silence over my existence. Tired of pretending like this woman was anything close to family. So I printed everything. Made copies. Organized the evidence. And then I wrapped it. Tucked it between baby socks and a handmade scrapbook I spent actual hours on, because despite it all, I thought maybe, my baby brother deserved to know someone gave a damn. The week before the shower, I told my dad I'd be attending. His response? Just don't make it about you. That stuck in my throat like broken glass. When I got to the party, Laura gave me a once-over like I was a piece of gum stuck to her rug. "You showed up," she said flatly. "I figured you'd be too busy." I smiled. Well, you know me. Always trying to impress the woman who calls me the leftover. She blinked. "Excuse me?" "Oh, don't worry." I read the texts. Her eyes went cold. That's when I knew she was scared. Good. The rest you know. The gift. The reveal. The silence that could have shattered glass. But what you don't know, the real aftermath hadn't even started yet. Because Laura may have looked stunned in that moment. But I knew the real storm was still coming. And I was ready for it. Laura didn't call that night. She didn't call the next morning either. But my dad did. 8 times. I didn't pick up. On the 9th, he left a voicemail. "We need to talk. Come home. Now." I didn't reply. 2 hours later, the garage door opened. Footsteps. Then my bedroom door slammed open like he still had the right. You need to explain yourself, he barked. I didn't even look up. No. You need to explain yourself. His nostrils flared. Why would you do that at her baby shower? In front of everyone. Because that's the only time she couldn't lie her way out of it, I snapped. And let's be real, you weren't going to confront her. She's pregnant, he shouted. You stressed her so bad she nearly fainted after you left. I stood up, calm, but shaking inside. You're mad I ruined the mood? I've been giving you money for bills since I was 16. Working after school, waiting tables until midnight, just so you and Laura could keep buying your organic groceries and scented candles. You think that's not stressful? He blinked. I kept going. You remember last month when the power got cut off? Who paid it? Me. The kid who skips lunch at school because you guys forgot to shop. That's not true, he said, but quieter now. It's exactly true, I hissed. I gave you everything I had. And all I got in return was silence. Or worse, her calling me a mistake while you stood there like a ghost. My dad looked stunned. Like he hadn't expected me to know how to punch back. And then Laura's voice came from the hall. Wow, she said. That was dramatic. She stepped in, arms folded over her belly, smug as ever. Always the victim, huh? I turned. Get out. She walked in closer. This is still my house. I laughed. Oh! Then maybe you should have paid the water bill last month yourself instead of asking me. Dad looked over at her. What? She said. He offered. I offered. I said, stunned. You stood in the kitchen crying about how broke you were while wearing a $200 robe. She shrugged. It's not my fault you have a savior complex. That was it. I walked over to my dresser, grabbed the second envelope, and threw it on the bed. She looked down at it. What is this? Second proof, I said. In case the first one wasn't enough. She opened it. Read the name on the second paternity lab. And froze. Stop, she said quickly. This is fake. Oh, really? I said. Then explain why the clinic confirmed your name, your ID, and your private email when I called and pretended to be your assistant. My dad turned to her. Laura. She's lying, Laura said, voice high and brittle. You believe her over me? Why not? I said. I've paid more bills in this house than both of you combined. She lost it. You want to be a martyr? She snapped. Fine. Go live your sad little life alone. No one's going to miss you. Wrong again, I said, voice flat. The person who's going to be alone is you. Because now everyone knows. And then I looked at my dad. I'm done trying to earn your love. I gave you money. I gave you loyalty. And you gave me nothing. I didn't know it was that bad, he muttered. You didn't care enough to ask, I said. And now it's too late. I grabbed my bag and walked to the door. You'll regret this. Laura yelled after me. I paused, turned back just enough to smile. No, I said. But you will. Every time your phone rings and it's not him calling you back. And then I left. For the last time. I walked out. Not running. Not crying. Not slamming doors for effect. Just steady steps, a backpack on my shoulder, and silence in my chest where panic used to live. The air outside felt colder than it was, maybe because, for the first time, no one was watching me leave. I didn't look back. And no one came after me. At first, I thought they wouldn't reach out at all. Like the moment was so nuclear they'd pretend it never happened. But I should have known better. The silence lasted 2 hours. Then my phone lit up. First it was Dad. 8 calls. All in a row. I let them ring out. The 9th one came with a voicemail. We need to talk. Come home. Now. Don't make this worse. I didn't respond. Then came Laura. Different number. No caller ID. Like she thought I'd block her. If you don't come back and fix this, your father might leave me. Do you want to destroy this family completely? No, Laura. I'm not destroying it. I'm just finally refusing to keep it alive with my blood. I was sitting on a bench outside a 7-Eleven, sipping on a warm Sprite and watching the screen blink again. It was funny in a way. For years I wanted them to care. To notice me. Now they couldn't stop reaching for me. And all I wanted was distance. That night, I crashed on my friend Eli's couch. He didn't say much, just handed me a blanket and a key. Before going to bed, he turned back and said, "You know, you actually look calm. Like, you're finally breathing." I didn't realize until that moment that he was right. 2 days. That's how long it took. Then the next wave hit. Aunt Cheryl texted first. "We had no idea, honey." Everyone was stunned. "Laura's trying to twist the story. But your dad, he looks like he hasn't slept since." I didn't answer. I wasn't interested in being discussed behind closed doors like some reality show scandal. I wasn't the family's ugly truth they all whispered about after dessert. Not anymore. But the third day, my phone rang again. Dad. I wasn't going to pick up. I really wasn't. But something in me, maybe the final sliver of that scared little kid still hoping for a real father, pressed answer. "Hey," I said, voice cold. "It's me," he replied, like I didn't already know. His voice sounded cracked, like he hadn't used it in a while. Or maybe like it had been through too many arguments. "Laura's gone," he said after a pause. Took a bag and went to her sister's. "She said it's just temporary." I stayed silent. "She says the test is fake. That you're trying to hurt us." But I looked over everything. What you showed. The clinic dates. The paternity lab. You didn't lie. "I know." He inhaled through his nose like he was bracing himself. "I didn't know about the money," he added. "She said a friend was helping us with bills. Groceries. Utilities." I let out a short, joyless laugh. "She cried on cue every time I asked why you two couldn't pay for your own electricity. And you bought it. Like always." I didn't want to believe she'd lie about something like that. "No," I said. "You didn't want to be uncomfortable. There's a difference." Another pause. "I haven't asked you for forgiveness yet." "And I wouldn't give it," I said calmly. He was quiet for a long time. "Why not?" I smiled bitterly. There it is, I thought. He still doesn't get it. Because forgiveness is the first step toward rebuilding a relationship. And I don't want a relationship. Not anymore. "But I'm your father," he said, desperation starting to leak through. "No. You're a man who watched his teenage daughter work night shifts, pay the water bill, and skip dinner to cover your mortgage while your wife called him a mistake to his face. And you let her." Silence again. "Please. Don't beg," I cut in. "I'm not your therapist. I'm not your second income. And I'm done being your duct tape." Then I hung up. I wasn't broken. I was done. I moved into a tiny basement room I found through a guy at the diner. Mold on the wall. Shared bathroom. Weak Wi-Fi. It was perfect. I had a mattress on the floor. A microwave. One folding chair. And every morning, I woke up and heard nothing. No guilt. No insults. No cold silence. Just peace. And ramen. I picked up extra shifts at work. Saved every dollar I used to hand over to Dad like I was tithing to some cruel god. And in the quiet hours between shifts, I started writing. Just blog posts. Reddit threads. Tweets. Nothing fancy. But then I told my story. About the baby shower. The gift. The truth inside the box. It blew up. I gave my stepmom a baby gift. Inside was a paternity test. Now she's gone, my dad's unraveling, and I'm finally healing. Thousands of likes. Hundreds of comments. Legend. You did what most of us only dream about. You're not the black sheep. You're the white knight who walked away. But one message hit different. You don't know me, but I used to be friends with Laura. She did the same thing to another man. His daughter ended up in therapy. You escaped just in time. I didn't cry. Didn't scream. I just sat there, holding my phone, staring at that message like it was an X-ray of my soul. For the first time, I knew I hadn't been crazy. I hadn't been difficult. I'd just been targeted. And now? Now I was free. If anyone ever says to me, "But family is everything," I'll look them dead in the eye and say, then explain why mine handed me a bill and called it love. Because I was their wallet. Their scapegoat. Their proof that they weren't the problem. Until I refused to pay. Until I walked away. And now? Now they're the ones trying to rebuild what they burned. But I won't be coming back. Not this time. Not ever. Final update, the post that ended everything. 2 weeks later, I was sitting on my floor, legs crossed, microwave buzzing in the background. The room smelled like instant noodles and dust. In front of me, my phone. Open Reddit thread. Blank post. Title: I gave my stepmom a baby shower gift with a surprise inside. Now she's hiding, my dad won't stop calling, and I'm finally free. I stared at the screen. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Then I started typing. I wrote it all. Every last detail. How she smiled in public and stabbed in private. How my dad let her erase me piece by piece. How I paid bills while they vacationed. How I waited tables while they judged me. And how I slipped truth into a baby box and blew apart their fake perfect image. I didn't censor anything. I didn't protect anyone. Because they never protected me. I hit post. And then I waited. It started small. A few comments. A dozen upvotes. Then, it exploded. Thousands. Tens of thousands. People were sending me awards. Demanding me support. Sharing their own stories. One user wrote, "You didn't just stand up for yourself. You stood up for every kid who was used, ignored, and erased by the people who were supposed to love them." Another said, "You're not the villain. You're the hero that survived the movie and burned the credits." And then, a woman DM'd me. This may sound insane, but I think we have the same stepmom. Did she used to live in Arizona? Turns out Laura had a history. Other men. Other daughters. Other lies. Same script. Same manipulation. My story went viral. People started reposting it on TikTok. Someone animated it into a YouTube video. A podcast reached out and asked if I'd talk anonymously. I said no. Not because I was afraid. Because I didn't need to say more. I'd already said everything. A few days later, Dad sent me one last message. "I read your post. I didn't realize you hated us that much." I didn't reply. Because it wasn't hate. It was truth. And truth doesn't knock before it enters. It breaks the door down without knocking. Sometimes people ask me, "Do you miss them?" No. I miss the idea of a family. Not the people who weaponized it. I don't miss holding my breath when I came home. I don't miss budgeting my paycheck around grown adults' laziness. I don't miss begging to be seen. Because now people see me. Not as the black sheep. Not as the poor kid with the attitude. Not as the problem. But as the one who told the truth. And walked away when no one else had the courage to. So no, I don't miss them. But sometimes I do think about that baby. The one that isn't my brother. And I wonder, will he grow up in the same lies? Will he one day find this post and realize who Laura really is? If he does, and he's reading this now. Kid, listen to me. You don't owe her anything. Not your money. Not your silence. Not your soul. Run sooner than I did. And when you do, don't look back. The end. Or, really, the beginning. Because the day I walked out wasn't the end of my family. It was the start of my life.